Welcome to First Sleep Aid, calm stories to help you unwind, learn, and fall asleep. From true crime to curious facts and thoughtful ideas, always softly spoken. Subscribe now and take a deep breath. You're in good hands. Some stories, they hit you like a thunderclap, instant legend. But Kobe Bryant's story, it started differently, quieter. Think Philadelphia, late August 1978.
Mhm.
A city humming, kind of holding its breath. And then this boy arrives, Kobe Bean Bryant, a name that would echo, but it started as just a whisper.
Right. And the name itself is sort of unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kobe,
Yeah.
from Japanese beef, on a menu his parents saw.
Yeah, really specific.
And Bean, that was from his dad, Joe Jelly Bean Bryant, already a pro basketball player. So right from the start, he's born into this world of basketball. It's in his name, in his blood.
And you have these two strong influences right there. His dad, Joe, charismatic, athletic, the performer.
The Jelly Bean.
Exactly. And then his mom, Pam, described as this rock, grounded, fiercely protective. It feels like those two energies, they were sort of the foundation for who Kobe became. Intensity, but with this deep core.
Absolutely. And Philadelphia at that time,
Mm-hmm.
late 70s, a tough blue-collar town,
Yeah.
lots of racial tension, and completely, utterly obsessed with sports.
You can just picture it.
And even as a little kid, Kobe was apparently the quiet one, just watching, absorbing everything, taking in the dynamics, the pressure, how much sports meant in that city. He was listening, remembering.
It's fascinating, right? That even so early, you see these traits. Serious, observational, not the loud kid demanding attention, but the one on the sidelines, figuring things out. This innate need to understand.
Yeah, in this early chapter, it's before all the rings and the fame, but it's so crucial. It's like the quiet foundation being laid, a boy born into the game, surrounded by motion, with a name that already had weight. It just sets the rhythm for everything that follows.
Then the whole story shifts dramatically. Early 80s, Kobe's only 6 years old, and the family moves to Italy. Reggio Emilia,
A world away, yeah.
his dad's playing overseas, and suddenly, Kobe's life is just completely different. Imagine being 6 and thrown into a new language, a whole new culture.
It's a huge contrast to a typical American childhood. Suddenly it's Italian chatter in the streets, not English cartoons. He has to learn a new language from scratch.
And he adapts incredibly quickly, doesn't he?
Amazingly so. Becomes fluent in Italian, apparently even reading Italian books. And it wasn't just basketball at first. He's out there playing soccer with the local kids, really immersing himself.
That experience of being the outsider, the different kid in this Italian town, you can see how that must have sharpened his observational skills even more.
Definitely. He's acutely aware he doesn't quite fit in the usual way. And that makes him watch even closer. How people move, their intentions. In soccer, which is all about precision, he's studying defenders, how they shift their weight, reading the passer's eyes. It's a different kind of education in movement and strategy.
And his dad, Joe, is this star player there, admired on the court, but maybe a bit distant off it. Kobe seems to pick up early on that greatness isn't just the applause, it's built quietly, relentlessly.
Right. And being away from the American hype machine, the AAU circuits, the constant scouting, it gave him space. Space to just fall in love with the game itself, its patterns, its language, without all the external pressure and expectations.
So he comes back to the U.S. at 13, and he's already this complex figure, fluent in 2 languages, devoted to 2 sports, deeply aware of being an outsider, but with this inner drive really starting to build.
Yeah, 1991, he's back. Lands in Bellisonwood Middle School, just outside Philly. Technically home, but it still feels foreign to him.
How so?
Well, he doesn't get the inside jokes, the sneaker culture, all that American teen stuff. He's listening more than talking. His English precise, almost formal, with that hint of European rhythm. Often alone at lunch, not really pushed away, just separate.
And that separateness, that loneliness, it doesn't crush him. It seems to fuel him.
It absolutely does. It sharpens his focus. All that energy gets poured into basketball. The gym is his refuge. The drills are his language. The desire isn't just to fit in anymore. It's becoming about surpass everyone, making himself undeniable.
The work ethic at that age is just staggering. Hours before school, staying late, dissecting NBA legends' moods on tape. It wasn't casual interest. It was like calculated obsession.
Total obsession. And then there's that story from Summer League when he's 14. Scores 0 points in a game. 0.
Wow. That would break most kids.
Right. But for Kobe, it was fuel. He didn't sulk. He came back angrier, smarter, more intense. Analyzed exactly what went wrong. And the next year, He dominated that league. That failure just drove him harder.
So you see this identity forming. Obsessed but controlled. Confident but kind of distant, always watching. Speaking only when necessary. Kids respected his game, for sure, but maybe didn't get close because his focus was already elsewhere.
Exactly. He was already thinking bigger, legacy, even if he didn't call it that then. By the time he gets to Lower Merion High School, he's physically grown, his game is polished, he thinks like a college player, and he has his singular focus. Win. Build something even the NBA couldn't ignore.
Lower Merion High, he walks in at 15. And this school, it wasn't exactly a basketball powerhouse, was it?
Not at all. Hadn't won a state championship in like 50 years or something. But right away, the whispers start about this freshman, this intense kid.
The stories about his practices.
Yeah, arriving before dawn, leaving after dark. Hundreds and hundreds of jump shots. In silence. Just pure focus. He treated the game like a language he had to master, translating greatness, shot by shot. Forget parties. He was studying VHS tapes of Jordan, West, Baylor.
Here's that quote from his coach. Something like, he was 15 going on 30.
And he already knew who he wanted to become. Yeah, that says it all, doesn't it? He had this incredible clarity of purpose even then.
And he demanded that intensity from teammates, too, right? Practices weren't fun and games.
No, they were game-level intensity. He wasn't trying to be popular. He was trying to elevate everyone, to rise above, not just fit in. By his junior year, he's averaging over 30 points a game. And it's not just scoring. It's the way he scored. The spin dribble, the pump fake, that fadeaway, becoming unstoppable.
Scouts starting to notice, college coaches.
Oh, yeah, the buzz was building. But Kobe almost seemed to expect it. Like it was just the natural result of the work he was putting in.
In senior year, it's like the culmination.
Absolutely. A 31-3 record. They win the state championship. Lower Merion's first since 1943. His stats were insane. Over 30 points, 12 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 4 steals a game. Named Pennsylvania Player of the Year, National Player of the Year.
And he broke Wilt Chamberlain's scoring record for Southeastern Pennsylvania. That's huge.
Massive. But for Kobe, those stats, those records, they were just evidence. Proof the work was paying off. The real goal was internal, perfecting the mechanics of effort, becoming the man he envisioned.
And then at 17, he makes the leap, skips college entirely, declares for the NBA draft.
A huge, bold move at the time. Really signaled his confidence, his focus on getting to the absolute top as fast as possible.
So draft night, 1996, the place is buzzing. You've got Iverson, Ray Allen, Marbury, huge college stars. And then there's Kobe, 17 years old, looking incredibly composed.
Yeah, the suit might have been a little big, but his posture, that confidence, it was unmistakable. Going straight from high school to the NBA was still pretty rare then, viewed with a lot of skepticism.
People saying he needed college, needed seasoning.
Exactly. But Kobe just felt ready. And behind the scenes, he was apparently working out for teams, impressing them. The Lakers, though, they saw something more than just talent. They saw how he fit their future.
But they didn't have a high enough pick.
Nope. So they orchestrated that famous trade. Charlotte drafts him at number 13.
And immediately trades him to LA for Vlade Divac.
A massive gamble by the Lakers, but it defined a generation of basketball.
Kobe later said he knew he'd be a Laker. Dreamed it, saw it, not just hope, but like design. He studied team dynamics.
He wasn't coming in just to learn. He was coming in to compete. So when his name was called, the applause was polite, but few really grasped the magnitude. It wasn't just a draft pick. It was the start of a huge shift in the league.
The Lakers took a chance, a big one, but for Kobe. It felt like confirmation. Confirmation that all those lonely hours in the gym, that intense focus, he was aimed right. Aimed at immortality, not just applause.
So it gets to the NBA, youngest player ever at 17. Can't even sign his own contract. Needs a co-signer for a car. Still a kid in so many ways.
But on the practice court...
Oh, he was battling veterans, Mick Van Exel, Eddie Jones, even Shaq sometimes. And he was winning some of those battles. The talent was undeniable.
But game time was different. That 96-97 Lakers team was stacked.
Absolutely. Van Exel, Jones, Eldon Campbell, and of course the newly arrived Shaquille O'Neal. Minutes were hard to come by for a rookie, especially one seen as maybe a bit too confident, too polished for his age.
Calling teammates my guys, calling himself a student of greatness, while getting benched for taking risks.
Right. Coaches were hesitant. But the fans, even in limited minutes, they saw something. The footwork, the balance, the rhythm. It was different. Flashes of Jordan. And he's only 18.
But flashes weren't enough for Kobe. He wanted it now.
Exactly. So he doubles down. More film study, first one in the gym, last one out, challenging veterans constantly. That mimicking of Jordan, it wasn't just imitation, it felt like he was engineering himself, building piece by piece.
Then comes the 97 playoffs against Utah. Game 5, series tied, overtime.
And Kobe takes those 4 shots. Air ball, air ball, air ball, air ball. Lakers lose the game, lose the series. The criticism rains down.
But his reaction.
Yeah.
That's the key, isn't it?
Totally. No excuses. He stays up practically all night replaying those shots. Not self-pity, but analysis. He realizes his legs weren't strong enough, even though the form felt right. It's this incredible acceptance of failure as data, as part of mastering pressure.
That whole rookie season, the struggles, the air balls, it taught him nothing's just given, right? Even to a prodigy, it had to be earned.
Set the stage perfectly for everything that came next.
Okay, let's talk about the 97 slam dunk contest. All-Star weekend in Cleveland. The dunk contest had maybe lost a bit of its magic.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the spectacle it once was, but then this 18-year-old Laker steps out. Purple and gold, wristband high on his arm, and this look of pure determination.
Youngest guy ever in the contest. Most fans barely knew him, just the bench player who shot those air balls.
Right. But his first few dunks were sharp, athletic. You could tell he wasn't just there to compete. He wanted to connect with the crowd, evoke a feeling.
And then the final round dunk.
Oh, yeah. Baseline toss, one bounce rises up, that midair coil between the legs, and the flush with the right hand. The place just exploded.
It wasn't just the difficulty, it was the style, right? The control, the coldness almost.
Absolutely. And his reaction, just a nod. Like, yeah, I expected this. Scores a 49, wins the contest.
And suddenly he's everywhere. Highlight reels, posters, people are talking about that kid from the Lakers.
It wasn't a championship, not even a playoff win, but it was his first solo moment in the national spotlight. Suspended in midair, choosing his stage, his time, his impact.
And that performance, that precision, it stuck. It was this clear signal of the talent, the artistry that was emerging.
A permanent highlight for sure. A declaration of arrival.
So Shaq arrives in LA in 96, biggest free agent signing ever. A dominant superstar coming to Hollywood.
Seismic, yeah. And at the same time, you get Kobe, this 17-year-old raw talent. On the surface, not an obvious pairing, is it? Hollywood power meets high school footwork obsession.
But somehow they became this electric, if often tense, duo.
Definitely tense in the early years.
Yeah.
Kobe wanted more minutes, more responsibility. Naturally, Shaq was like, earn it, kid. Be humble.
You could feel Kobe's impatience, challenging Shaq in practice, pushing boundaries. Teammates saw it, coaches tried to manage it, media loved it.
Oh, the media ate it up. But on the court, man, the magic was there. Shaq, immovable in the paint, drawing defenders. Kobe, untouchable on the wing, hitting impossible shots. They created this gravity together.
And Phil Jackson's arrival in 99-2000 was huge for them, wasn't it? The triangle offense.
Crucial. It gave them structure, gave them space. Shaq could dominate down low. Kobe could operate mid-range and out. It worked. On the court, at least.
But off the court, the philosophies clashed. Shaq believed in fun. Kobe believed in obsession. Shaq's humor versus Kobe's single-minded focus on dominance first, joy later.
Polar opposites in some ways. Shaq saw Kobe as arrogant. Kobe saw Shaq as maybe not working hard enough. And there was probably some truth to both sides.
Yet they win 3 straight championships, 2000, 2001, 2002. Barely smiling at each other after games sometimes, but they won.
Incredible dominance despite the friction. But with each title, Kobe's confidence grew. He was less willing to defer. That just ramped up the off-court pressure. By 2003, you could see it wasn't going to last. But for that window, they were the most feared pair in the league, driven by that shared desire to win, even if they couldn't stand each other sometimes.
Let's pinpoint a key moment. Game 4, 2000 finals against the Pacers. Lakers up 2-1 in Indiana. Shaq is dominating.
Absolutely wrecking them. But Kobe, he's playing hurt. Bad ankle sprain from an earlier game. Missed game 3 entirely. He probably shouldn't even be out there. He's hobbling. Clearly not 100%.
And the game is a dogfight. Indiana crowd is deafening. Then, middle of overtime, Shaq fouls out.
The place explodes. They sense blood in the water. Lakers' main weapon is gone. Series could easily be tied 2-2. And who's left to carry them? This 21-year-old kid on a bad ankle, facing Reggie Miller and Jalen Rose in the finals.
But Kobe just takes over. Calm, focused, hits a floater, hits another, mid-range pull-up, plays tough defense, makes passes, then hits a dagger shot, and apparently tells his teammates, I got this.
Just unbelievable composure under pressure. Lakers win an OT, go up 3-1. Look, it was Shaq's team, Shaq's finals MVP season, no doubt. But in that specific moment, that overtime, It was Kobe's game.
And you felt the shift, right? He wasn't waiting anymore. He wasn't asking. He had arrived as that guy, the future alpha.
Exactly. It was a preview. When pressure cooker gets turned up, he's the one you want with the ball, a defining moment in his rise.
So after winning in 2000, the Lakers come into the 2001 season maybe a bit comfortable. They have Shaq in his prime, Kobe ascending, Phil Jackson. Should be smooth sailing.
On paper, yeah. But internally, things weren't exactly peaceful. Kobe came back even more determined, more independent, more outspoken.
Spending less time with teammates, flying separately sometimes, studying, living differently.
Yeah, and that caused friction. Some teammates, and definitely Shaq, saw it as selfish. Kobe, in turn, felt Shaq wasn't disciplined enough. The locker room started splitting. Tension underneath the success.
But then the playoffs start, and they go on that insane 15-1 run, one of the most dominant postseasons ever.
Unbelievable. Swept Portland, Sacramento, San Antonio, closed out Philly in 5, just demolished everyone.
And Kobe was spectacular, averaging over 29 points. That 45-point game against the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals.
Wow.
Even Shaq had to admit, grudgingly perhaps, that Kobe had grown up. But the praise didn't last. The trust was already fractured.
2002 brings more wins, another finals appearance, a sweep of the Nets, three-peat.
Joins Russell Celtics, Jordan's Bulls, elite company. But that off-court relationship between Kobe and Shaq, cold, detached, transactional at best, despite the on-court chemistry.
Phil Jackson holding it all together somehow, managing egos, appealing to legacy. He was the glue. But by the end of 2002, even with 3 straight titles, you could feel the dynasty shaking internally. 2 brilliant forces, bound by winning, but fundamentally pulling in opposite directions. It couldn't last forever.
And the unraveling, when it came, wasn't really about losing on the court, was it? It felt like it came from within.
Totally. The 2002-03 season starts. Expectations are high again, but something's different. Shaq shows up to camp out of shape again. And this time, Kobe doesn't hold back.
Goes public with criticism to reporters, coaches.
Saying things like, if he worked as hard as I did, we'd never lose. Just putting it out there.
And Shaq fires back, right, mocking Kobe's intensity, calling him selfish, the show-off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It became less about basketball and more about who controlled the spotlight, who's the real leader. Phil Jackson's patience was clearly wearing thin with these 2 clashing alphas who didn't respect each other anymore.
They still won games, but that cohesive magic was gone. Finished 3rd in the West, got bounced by the Spurs in the playoffs. Dynasty over. Exhaustion, really.
Then comes the summer of 2003. And everything changes with Kobe's arrest in Colorado. Sexual assault charges, global media frenzy.
His entire image, his character, under the microscope.
He denies the assault charge, but admits to adultery in that incredibly difficult press conference with Vanessa beside him. The court case drags on, public opinion is fiercely divided, and behind the scenes, Kobe transforms again. More isolated, training harder than ever, barely communicating with teammates. Yet somehow, he's still playing at an elite level, flying back and forth between court dates and NBA games.
The case is eventually dismissed in September '04. Accuser won't testify, followed by a civil settlement. No conviction, but the damage to his reputation was immense and permanent.
Absolutely. And the rift with Shaq during this time just became irreparable. Shaq saw him as a distraction. Kobe saw Shaq as disloyal. Open hostility by training camp in 2003.
They tried one last run in 2003-04, bringing in Karl Malone and Gary Payton, the super team.
But you can't buy back chemistry and trust. It didn't work. They lost in the finals to Detroit pretty decisively.
And that was it. Phil Jackson leaves again. Shaq gets traded to Miami. Kobe re-signs the Lakers. It's his team now. His burden, his legacy alone. The start of Kobe unfiltered.
The Colorado case.
Yeah.
It's just this stark example of battles fought under the brightest, harshest lights imaginable compared to the silent ones people usually fight privately.
July 2003, he checks into that lodge and spa in Cordillera for knee surgery. Starts private, but escalates incredibly fast.
The accusation comes the next day from a 19-year-old hotel employee, arrested within a week.
Yeah.
And boom, global media storm, leaked documents, 247 cable news. Kobe goes from NBA Golden Boy to courtroom headline overnight.
That press conference, denying the assault but admitting adultery, with Vanessa right there. Incredibly intense.
The case drags for over a year. Public is split. Details are graphic. Coverage is brutal. And privately, Kobe is changing. Isolating himself, training harder, shutting people out. Yet somehow playing amazing basketball despite flying from court appearances to games.
It wasn't just about surviving that period, was it? It felt like he was building something colder, maybe, sharper, more deliberate inside.
I think so. Then the criminal case gets dismissed in September 2004. The accuser decides not to testify. Civil suit settled later. No conviction, but his image is permanently tarnished.
The damage was done. To his reputation, his marriage, his privacy, maybe something inside him, too.
But from those ashes, something new definitely emerged. Kobe the Mamba. And that jersey change, that felt like part of it. Cutting out the noise, choosing silence over approval. The man who came back to the court after all that was fundamentally different.
That jersey number change from 8 to 24, it feels so deliberate, like choosing your future instead of letting the past define you.
Exactly. Number 8 was his first 10 years. Italy, the high-flying hungry kid. But by 2006, that chapter felt over. The scandals, the losses, the dynasty breaking up, it left scars.
So he switches to 24. Why 24?
Multiple reasons, right? It was his high school number, before the fame. Symbolizes 24 hours on a day, total focus. And yeah, it's one number after Jordan's 23.
People debated that. Was it a nod to MJ or him saying, I'm building my own thing right next door?
Maybe a bit of both. But the change happened for the 06-07 season, and his game evolved too. Number 24, Kobe, was more surgical, efficient. Less flash, maybe, but more force. Quietly dismantling opponents.
Colder in the clutch moments. A shift towards being feared rather than needing to be liked.
And that's when the Mamba became more than a nickname. It became a philosophy, the Mamba mentality.
Obsession, precision, accountability, ruthless purpose.
He wrote about it, spoke about it, lived it. It was like armor. Number 8 was athletic genius. Number 24 felt like discipline on fire. One maybe played for approval. The other played purely for legacy.
He talked about separating himself, right? Creating someone different, stronger, untouchable to deal with everything he'd been through.
Yeah. The jersey change marked that shift. Kobe Bryant wasn't becoming great anymore. He was unapologetically being great.
Which brings us to the 81-point game. January 22, 2006. Lakers versus Raptors at Staples. Seemed like just another game.
Right. Kobe was scoring like crazy that season, averaging over 35, but the Lakers were mediocre. He was carrying a massive load. And you have to think about the weight he was still carrying, the Colorado aftermath, Shaq on, the selfish criticisms, doubts he could win again. Frustration, maybe, at never being enough for some people.
The game starts, Raptors actually pull ahead by 18. You can almost picture Kobe getting irritated.
And then he just locks in. It's hard to describe. Mid-range jumpers, turnarounds, drives, threes, free throws, more threes, just relentless.
Had 26 at halftime, which is good, but not historic. In the third quarter, he explodes. Hits 53 by the end of the third.
The crowd starts realizing something special is happening. The tension builds. Every possession is his. Every shot feels like deadly art. Teammates are almost just watching. The world starts paying attention.
And he keeps going. No smiles, no celebration, just focus. 70 points, 75, 80.
Final buzzer. 81 points. Second most ever in NBA history. He walks off calmly, just a nod. It felt like that performance was for the doubt, for the scandal, for the years of narrative he couldn't control. The scoreboard doesn't lie.
His post-game comment was so understated. Just the zone.
But it was more than a zone. It was a message, loud and clear. You cannot break me, you cannot define me, and you damn sure can't stop me. It was a man taking his story back, point by point.
After the intensity of the Colorado case, you see this interesting duality emerge, right? The public pursuit of greatness continues, loud as ever, but there's also this quieter, internal growth happening.
Definitely. His focus on being a father really seemed to deepen. Vanessa's support through the trial was obviously huge, and he seemed acutely aware of how close he came to losing his family. There was this visible shift towards balancing that relentless drive with being present for his daughters.
Seeing him with them at games more often, talking about them, the focus wasn't just achievement anymore, but the example he set.
And he reportedly returned to his Catholic faith during that incredibly difficult time. Talked about confession, forgiveness, finding an internal stillness. It wasn't for headlines. It seemed like a genuine anchor for him.
That quote about facing himself and needing to build something new on truth, it speaks to that internal reckoning.
Yeah, and you saw reflections of that in his mindset. Studying stoicism, reading philosophy, valuing stillness not as an activity but as a skill. Asking questions about training the mind as much as the body.
His interviews started feeling different too. More measured, less combative, more reflective.
The fire was still there, absolutely. But it seemed to burn inward as fuel rather than flaring outward. And his mentorship of younger players seemed to change too. Less about him, more about legacy, meaning building into others.
So by the mid-2000s, he's chasing clarity, maybe? A balance between that obsessive drive and real intention. Victory, but with purpose. Trying to understand what winning really means beyond the court. preparing him maybe for the next wave of titles and respect.
The 2008 Olympics in Beijing felt like a massive opportunity for Kobe, a chance to redefine himself again, beyond the scandal, beyond just being a scorer. This was about leadership on a global stage.
Team USA had bombed in '04, bronze medal, huge disappointment. There was intense pressure to bring back the gold in '08. They assembled this redeemed team, young stars like LeBron, Wade, Carmelo.
Immense talent. But they needed a leader, someone to set the tone, guide them through the pressure, and they turned to Kobe, which, given his reputation as a loner, maybe seemed like an odd fit to some initially.
But his impact in training camp was immediate, wasn't it?
Transformative, by all accounts. First run in the gym, lifting before practice, working in silence. He set a standard the younger stars felt compelled to follow. Coach K said he brought a seriousness, a standard.
The young guys looked to him for focus, not necessarily friendship.
Exactly. And throughout the Olympics, you saw a different Kobe, deferring when needed, scoring when required, guarding the other team's best player, leading by example. Less talk, more purposeful action.
Then the gold medal game against a really good Spanish team, it was tight.
Super close. And in the fourth quarter, Kobe took over. Hits a huge three, does the shush gesture to the crowd. Driving Hammett. One, another jumper. Then the final dagger. Just clutch.
USA wins gold, and it felt like Kobe won back a lot of respect, didn't he? From fans, but maybe more importantly from his peers.
Definitely. LeBron said afterwards that Kobe was their leader when things got tough. It wasn't just about dominance, it was showing others how to win. With fire, but also with structure.
Beijing really changed the perception of him. He became this different kind of leader, the standard others could rise to.
The 2009 finals against Orlando. This felt like Kobe's quest for the solo crown, right? His first real shot at a title without Shaq.
Absolutely. The Lakers had rebuilt around him: Pau Gasol, Odom, Fisher, Bynum. A good team, balanced but undeniably fueled by Kobe's intensity. He wasn't chasing popularity anymore. He was just locked in on the mission.
They had a dominant regular season, 65 wins, #1 seed, rolled through the West playoffs, Jazz, Rockets, Nuggets, then faced Dwight Howard and the Magic in the finals.
And Kobe was just masterful in that series, especially Game 1.
40 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists in Game 1. Just a complete demolition. Orlando threw everything at him, double teams, length, physicality. Nothing worked consistently. His precision was just off the charts.
Leading not just by scoring, but by commanding the entire game. Pau Gasol talked about his unwavering determination.
You could just feel it watching him. There was no way he was letting this one slip away. Game 5, Lakers close it out. Kobe scores 30, championship #4.
His first without Shaq, silencing so many critics, answering that lingering question. The smile at the buzzer, it looked like relief as much as joy.
Definitely relief.
Yeah.
Closing a long chapter. And his post-game comment, when asked what this one meant.
It means I got one more than Shaq.
Classic Kobe. Playful dig? Maybe. But the deeper truth was about rewriting his own narrative, finally standing alone at the top.
Game 7, 2010 Finals, against Boston. This one felt different, deeply personal for Kobe after losing to them in '08.
Oh, yeah. Lakers versus Celtics rivalry, the history, the physicality of that specific series.
Yeah.
It all came down to this one game at Staples Center, all or nothing.
And Kobe started tight, didn't he? Jumper wasn't falling, forcing things a bit.
He really struggled offensively early on. Shots weren't dropping, rhythm was off, you could see the pressure. But instead of wilting, he just shifted his focus.
Rebounding like a madman.
Career high 15 rebounds in a Game 7. Boxing out, diving for loose balls, playing incredible defense. Just pure grit and will when the offense wasn't there.
And then late in the game, he hits clutch free throws, makes that huge assist to Ron Artest for the 3.
Found ways to impact the game even without scoring efficiently. Lakers grind out an ugly, tough win, 83-79. Defensive battle.
Kobe finishes with 23 points, those 15 boards, 0 excuses. And that celebration at the buzzer, pure, raw emotion, holding up 5 fingers for ring number 5.
This one meant so much. 2 without Shaq, 1 over Boston, into Game 7. And it was hard. Phil Jackson called it the most satisfying championship he'd ever won.
Kobe said something about knowing that even when he wasn't at his best, he could still will a team to win.
Yeah. This last title felt maybe the most human. Won not by the untouchable Mamba, but by a flawed, exhausted, utterly determined Kobe Bryant refusing to lose.
So after that 2010 peak, Kobe's still elite, but the body, after 15 brutal seasons, starts to betray him more often.
Yeah, the injuries started piling up, shoulder, knee, and then the big one, the Achilles. But his response to every setback was the same. Relentless rehab, often coming back ahead of schedule. That fire just never dimmed.
That Achilles tear in April 2013 against the Warriors, horrific to watch. He'd been playing insane minutes trying to drag that team into the playoffs.
And then, after tearing it, he limps to the free throw line and sinks both shots. Walks off under his own power. It was just pure defiance, refusing to be carried off, refusing to stop competing until the absolute last second.
He comes back again in 2014. He's 36. You still see flashes of the old Kobe, but they're less frequent. The body just can't consistently do what his mind wants it to.
But he never mailed it in. Still trained intensely, still studied the game, even as more injuries followed. In an era where load management was becoming common, Kobe played through pain. His identity was tied to that effort.
It was tough for fans to watch sometimes, seeing the legend slow down, seem mortal. But Kobe never asked for pity, just for you to watch the effort.
Then comes the announcement, 2015-16 will be his final season. The focus shifts from winning to closure, the start of the farewell tour. Even broken, he wanted to be present, leave the game beautifully, on his own terms.
That farewell tour, it wasn't a quiet exit, was it? It became this global event.
Not at all. It started with him publishing that poem, Dear Basketball, on November 29, 2015. His retirement announcement, framed as a love letter to the game.
And immediately, everyone knew the season was it.
The whole league responded. Every road arena became a tribute stage. Standing ovations, legends showing up, opponents hugging him before games, video montages. It was incredible.
And Kobe didn't just wave and smile, he competed. Played with focus, dignity, even with his body failing him. He seemed to smile more, mentor younger players more openly.
You had those moments dropping 18 points at Madison Square Garden one last time, the long embrace with Popovich in San Antonio, the standing ovation in Boston, of all places.
It was more than just saying goodbye. It felt like recognition of the obsession, the artistry, the control, the evolution he represented.
He said he wanted to leave the game beautifully. And he really did, didn't he? That whole final year was about reverence, closure, and this sort of quiet transformation into the next phase.
And then the final game, April 13th, 2016. It's like he wrote the script himself. One last, totally unbelievable performance.
Staples Center, Lakers versus Jazz. A meaningless game in the standings, but the building was electric. Sold out. Celebrities, former teammates, Shaqs, Phil rivals watching.
Yeah.
The whole world tuned in.
He starts slow, misses some shots. Looks like maybe the tank is empty.
And then
Yeah.
something flips.
Yeah.
The rhythm comes back. The footwork looks sharp again, and he just takes over. Shot after shot, relentless, pushing through exhaustion, age, everything, defying all logic for a farewell game.
Finishes with 60 points. 60. Most points anyone scored all season. Most ever in a final game. It made no sense, but it was happening.
Leads the Lakers back for the win in the final minutes. Hits the go-ahead jumper, seals it with free throws. The crowd loses its mind. Teammates mob him. The building is shaking.
And then center court, mic in hand, Mamba out, mic drop.
The perfect ending. For someone who always played for control, for clarity, for mastery, ending it with an unbelievable, earned masterpiece, it just fit perfectly.
After that final game, his departure from the NBA world felt so decisive, graceful, no looking back.
Completely. No coaching gigs, no TV analyst roles, no front office positions. He just walked away.
And seemed to fully embrace being a dad. Really present, joyful, coaching Gianna's team, showing up at WNBA games. His focus shifted entirely.
He channeled that famous intensity into new things. Creative pursuits, founded Granity Studios, wrote children's books, produced podcasts, and of course, turned Dear Basketball into an Oscar-winning short film in 2018.
Unprecedented. That quote about reinventing yourself, not being tied only to what you once did, he lived that.
His interviews changed too, talking about stillness, mindset, art, fatherhood. No bitterness, no nostalgia overload, just forward movement. Still mentoring young players, but quietly, without needing the spotlight.
It really felt like he achieved something rare for great athletes. Walking away whole. No comeback talk, no drama. Just legacy and, it seemed, peace.
That morning, Sunday, January 26, 2020, the news. It wasn't something you heard and processed. It was something you felt. Silence, disbelief.
Gray, foggy morning in Southern California. Kobe boards a helicopter with Gianna, heading to a youth basketball game at the Mamba Sports Academy.
Ugh.
7 others are with him.
A routine flight for him, really. A way to beat the notorious LA traffic. Short hop to Thousand Oaks.
But the fog was thick. 9:06 a.m. takeoff. Flying low. Poor visibility. Warnings from air traffic control. Then, around 9:45 a.m., disappears from radar. The crash in Calabasas. No survivors.
The news broke slowly at first. Whispers, unconfirmed reports, then the awful headlines. Just global shock. It felt unreal. Kobe seemed untouchable, larger than life.
And then the second wave hits, learning Gianna was with him, Gigi, his mini-me, this rising star herself, just unbearable.
No final footage, no last words, just the aftermath, the grief spreading instantly outside Staples Center in Italy, in NBA arenas with those silent 24-second violations. Even rivals were heartbroken.
It felt like losing more than a player. It was losing an ideal, that embodiment of effort and focus. Michael Jordan said a piece of him died.
Losing a father, a teacher, a storyteller, and a bright young girl with so much potential, no explanation, no narrative to make sense of it, just sudden, irreversible loss. And this immediate need to remember, to carry forward what he represented. Kobe was an LA icon for sure, but the mourning, it was truly global, personal.
Millions learned about it from a notification on their phone, a stunned text message, disbelief, then just this overwhelming wave of grief.
Those spontaneous gatherings outside Staples. Candles, letters, jerseys. It was happening everywhere. Basketball courts in Manila filled with people paying respects, murals going up overnight in Paris, vigils in Milan, Chinese social media just flooded with sorrow.
It wasn't just mourning the player, was it? It was mourning the mindset. That Mamba mentality resonated with people everywhere in all walks of life.
Absolutely. And the loss of Gianna added this extra layer of heartbreak, this confident, skilled young girl already making her own way.
The tributes in the NBA arenas, the 24-second violations, the broadcasters choking up the thank you Kobe messages.
Jordan's words about him being like a little brother. And then the stories started coming out too. The quiet acts of kindness beyond the fierce competitor everyone knew.
People remembered him not just for the wins, but for that relentless pursuit of winning, of getting better. It left this permission to grieve, but also this reminder to live purposefully.
Gianna's story. It carried her dad's fire, but it was her own path, tragically cut short.
Gigi, born in 2006. Sharp, stubborn, smart like her dad, and completely in love with basketball.
Studying the game intensely from a young age, just like Kobe did. Film, fundamentals. Her understanding of concepts was apparently way beyond her years, developing that fadeaway already.
Kobe always said, she's better than I was at her age, and you believed he meant it.
Totally. He wasn't coaching her to relive his past. He was guiding her journey. They talked about UConn, the WNBA. She wanted to wear number 2.
People were starting to see her, right? Not just Kobe's daughter, but Gigi. Her own talent, her own potential.
Kobe said she reignited his love for the game, seeing the future in her and other young women playing. Her dying at 13, on the way to play the game she loved, with her dad.
Yeah.
It's just unthinkable.
The world didn't just lose a child, it lost a symbol of this shifting legacy in sports.
The tributes honored her skill, her passion, her voice. That #2 jersey became sacred, her name on murals next to his. Losing someone still becoming. Sometimes that's even harder than losing a hero. But Gigi had already shown the power of greatness, at any age. Legacy starts with love. Her fire burned brightest just as we were all getting ready to see it. Kobe's legacy, the mythology of the Mamba, it's not about perfection, is it? It's about that authentic dedication.
Right, Mamba mentality became bigger than Kobe. It's this language of discipline, focus, curiosity, even kindness, surprisingly. People apply it everywhere, not just sports. It's about relentless improvement.
He didn't invent hard work, obviously, but he personified it in a way that made that level of obsession seem admirable, even productive, made failure just part of the process.
You see #Mamba mentality everywhere. Players paying tribute, kids modeling his work ethic. He's remembered for what he stood for. No shortcuts. Finish everything. Earn your name.
The statues and murals are great, but the real impact is how people maybe carry themselves differently, approach challenges differently because of his example.
The myth became a movement about persistence, not perfection. And maybe his flaws, his complexities made the dedication more believable, more human.
That quote about greatness being for those who choose to suffer for it, that captures it. The world didn't just mourn him, it adopted his ethos.
And his influence on the next generation, that feels like the core of his true legacy, beyond the stats and rings.
Absolutely. Young players in the NBA and beyond, they didn't just grieve, they studied him actively.
You see it directly. Jason Tatum with Kobe on his phone training with him, Devin Booker wearing the B legendary shoes Kobe gave him, Giannis using Kobe's challenges as fuel.
And his impact on women's basketball was profound, championing it early, mentoring, just showing up.
Sabrina Ionescu's eulogy, then going out and playing like him, embodying that spirit. And youth basketball everywhere, the Mamba drill, the Kobe shot, Mamba Day, it's woven into the culture now.
He didn't want imitation, though. He wanted people to understand the work behind it. The key takeaway for this generation is personal responsibility for your own growth.
He built this standard of relentless effort that just keeps pushing people, a legacy that lives in daily decisions.
So when you boil it all down, beyond the fame, what did Kobe leave behind? What are the fundamental tools?
I think it comes down to three things: intensity, discipline, clarity.
Explain that intensity.
It wasn't just being loud, it was controlled, channeled, chosen, like a mirror asking, are you giving your absolute all?
And the discipline.
The quiet stuff, relentless repetition for tiny improvements, valuing the work over just talent, showing up every single day.
And clarity.
You saw it in his movements, his choices. Everything served a purpose, part of this larger vision of self-mastery. Nothing wasted. That quote about challenges being opportunities to rise, that's clarity of purpose.
So his legacy isn't just trophies, it's an ethic,
Yeah.
a worldview, inspiring greater effort, higher standards. His name resonates now in quiet places, gyms, libraries, studios, wherever people are putting in the work.
Because he never really left, did he? His spirit is in that relentless pursuit of getting better, that refusal to be average.
Those 5 championship rings, they really do tell the story of his evolution, don't they? Each one feels different.
Ring 1 in 2000. Shaq's dominant, but Kobe hits those clutch shots in the finals when Shaq fouls out. A warning shot of what's to come.
Ring 2, 2001. Kobe is refined, cold, unstoppable, leads that 15-1 playoff massacre, clearly no longer just a sidekick.
Ring 3, 2002, the three-peat. Kobe's in full command, but you feel the tension with Shaq simmering louder.
Ring 4, 2009, the big one. First title without Shaq. Proves he can lead his own team all the way. Silences so many doubters.
And Ring 5, 2010. That gritty, emotional Game 7 win over Boston shows his will, his leadership, even when he wasn't scoring easily. Hard-earned.
Each ring marks a milestone. From unbelievable talent to timeless legend, a journey etched in championship gold.
And the individual stats, the awards, they provide the evidence for that sustained excellence.
That one regular season MVP in 2008, maybe overdue, but clear recognition of his leadership, carrying that team after the trade demand.
Then the 2 finals MVPs in 09 and 10. Those felt like validation of his solo dominance under the brightest lights.
18 All-Star selections. Just remarkable consistency, staying relevant and elite for basically 2 decades.
Over 33,000 career points, 4th all-time when he retired, scored in incredibly difficult ways too.
The 81-point game.
Yeah.
Just pure individual mastery, a statement game for the ages.
And then 60 points in his final game. Unprecedented. Defying logic, defying age.
Plus, spending 20 seasons with one team, the Lakers. That kind of loyalty, that commitment to building a legacy in one place.
Yeah.
It's rare. The numbers don't tell the whole story, but they prove the relentless standard he maintained for so long.
And the legacy stats, the honors, they're the game's way of remembering him permanently.
Retiring 2 jersey numbers, 8 and 24. Only player ever for one team. Honors both distinct eras of his greatness.
4th all-time scorer at retirement, youngest to reach 30,000 points. Shows that early brilliance and sustained production.
17 All-NBA selections.
Yeah.
Just consistently recognized as one of the absolute best year after year. And 12 All-Defensive teams proves he cared about both ends.
The 5 championship banners hanging in L.A., the Oscar for Dear Basketball, showing his reach beyond the court.
Hall of Fame, Class of 2020, the ultimate validation. These aren't just records, they're markers of his impact, standards for the future.
His life after basketball, those final honors, really show how his legacy grew beyond the sport.
Winning an Oscar for that beautiful farewell poem, Dear Basketball, unheard of for an athlete, showed his storytelling talent, his love for the game over just glory.
The Hall of Fame induction, so poignant, happening after his death, cementing his place among the immortals.
And his global impact, China, Italy, Africa. He became this figure representing dedication, taking your dreams seriously, revered worldwide.
And that post-retirement role, mentoring, storytelling, championing youth sports, especially women's sports, he became this cultural figure. His legacy isn't just basketball, it's the mindset, the inspiration he left behind everywhere.
So when we reflect on Kobe, what does greatness really mean? It's more than just the numbers, isn't it?
Definitely. He wasn't perfect, nobody is. But he was always honest in his effort, his ambition, and he had that rare power to keep shaping others even after he was gone, just through his example.
Greatness, maybe, isn't just talent. It's those conscious choices. Dedication, perseverance, day after day. The Mamba mentality is about taking responsibility for your own growth, holding yourself to that incredibly high standard.
Others might have slightly better stats here or there, maybe one more ring, but few left such a clear roadmap for how to get better, how to push yourself.
That was his gift, wasn't it? Clarity. Clarity in pain, clarity in process, clarity in purpose. Just relentless dedication.
Maybe true greatness is measured by the aspiration you leave in others. And Kobe's challenge still echoes, doesn't it? What will you do with what you have?
From that quiet start in Philly to a global icon, Kobe's journey was about constant transformation. We've touched on Italy, high school, the Lakers dynasty, and his breakup, the reinvention, the final chapters.
And through it all, that dedication, discipline, and clarity shone through. His impact goes way beyond sports, inspiring people everywhere to demand more from themselves.
The Mamba mentality lives on. That relentless pursuit of greatness, it's his lasting legacy, pushing people to strive for excellence in their own lives.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Kobe Bryant's incredible life, maybe the final thought is about applying those principles ourselves, that dedication, that focus, and remembering his challenge. What will you do with what you have?
Thanks for joining us.